terms of, I guess, our company, it's probably not too big of an exaggeration to say they changed my life. So I was happily working in corporate life and got invited by a former colleague to join. And what makes us special on the inside, I think, goes right back to our founders. They got fed up with corporate life and corporate culture and decided, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And so they kind of rethought the rules to a large extent. And so inside of the business, we're a business with huge amounts of autonomy and support, full of vocational people who genuinely, really get a kick out of what they do. And what that's meant is a journey for the business over the 30-year history. First of all, in Lean and Six Sigma and business optimization and all of those sorts of things. But actually, we've moved very much with the times due to the philosophies of the business, actually, and embraced in later times business agility and now moving into the age of AI. But I guess what makes us special on the inside is just pure authenticity and a bunch of people who are really enjoying what they do and really getting that kick out of going into an organization that we've helped and feeling just a different energy in the air. And also, I mean, of course, all of the things which boards would hire us to come in to do when you can kind of see those big levers and the big needles moving in the business, we get a tremendous kick out of that. But whereas, as I say, think it's traditional consultancy would be all looking at delivery days and, some of the more unscrupulous ones are like a gorilla or a monkey grabbing onto branches and embedding themselves into your organization. We genuinely see success for us is when we've created lasting competency, lasting change. And success for us is really that you don't need us anymore, that you're self-sufficient. And that's turned out to be a very, very powerful business model for us. Because what happens is you end up with sometimes bordering on fanatical referral to others. So good news tends to spread fast. People find that genuine energy from our people and the results that we bring about really kind of helpful. But also, and you probably can get no bigger endorsement than this, people tend to bring us with them. And that can come in two forms. That can come in the form of us helping them and then their career progression, which often means we can end up in the boardroom of some very major organizations, or when through their career growth, they move companies. And we call these the Blues Brothers calls, where people they're getting the band back together. That's when people take us with them. So yeah, I would say there's that, and that's the kind of the secret sauce inside of the business. But in terms of our value proposition, it's very much around, we're also methodology agnostic, which as we're moving into this next industrial age is becoming more and more important. It's not about Lean or Six Sigma or Scrum or agility. It's about sense making now and helping organizations create a learning culture, create a learning environment, and creating an environment where we can situationally apply the right methodologies, the right techniques in order to really serve customers. And what's wonderful for us about that in terms of authenticity is that's exactly how we drive our own business. We're basically sometimes kind of customer obsessed, but also creating an environment inside of our business for our people to thrive. And so far, so good. It seems to create a very nice cocktail. The authenticity is actually, that's something in ourselves that we live and breathe, and hopefully is a little bit infectious on our clients, because part of what we do is build a belief that things can be done differently and that can be done better. And they can see us living and breathing the values we espouse. But actually that authenticity is utterly critical if you're going to build a 21st century organization, which has all of the kind of the motivational aspects and the able to think and behave differently in order to deal with this new age that we're moving into. We did some work inside of the business last year around kind of who are we. It was a fantastic session, actually. We were drawing and we were using visual thinking to bring it to life. But that was one thing that just emerged out of the work everybody was drawing, was this we're incredibly authentic people. Melissa Wright, one of our directors, put it really nicely recently. She said, we're kind of all about leaving the world better than we found it. That's what we do. and it's that's a very uplifting thing to do for a living, right? That really gets you out of bed in the morning. Doesn't mean every day is easy. I mean, some of the work we do certainly at the top level of transformational change can be very painful, lots of bumps and bruises, but actually the buzz you get when you help get through the other side, and there's that different energy in the world, in the air. Yeah, that's can't really describe it, but it's an incredible feeling, and it kind of that's what probably authenticity means for us. We're kind of in it for the right reasons, but we're also, hope it's clear, we're also very tough business people. We're into creating those outcomes that the shareholders want, etc. But fortunately, I think we've hit upon something which means everybody wins. Customers winning because they're getting better outcomes. People in the business winning because there's a more fun places to work, places where we feel supported, where we're able to bring the very best of ourselves. And thankfully, the people in the boardroom and the investors and the shareholders or the government are happy because they're getting value for money. And we're kind of moving forward as a focused workforce, all kind of around the same mission and vision. So yeah, that's kind of it really in a nutshell for authenticity for us. What brought us to the consortium, and you're right to highlight it, is we kind of felt a kindred energy. We felt that there's some of the discoveries that Catalyst had made as a business in terms of what really makes successful businesses, in terms of holistically from top to bottom, a set of behaviors, a philosophy of customers and outcome based over obsessing over cost reduction, and which honestly is a race to the bottom. That's how you're going. If that's what you're focusing on, you're measuring and thinking about the wrong things. In fact, if you really want your revenues to go up and your costs to go down, the ultimate driver we've got are these behaviors in terms of leadership behaviors to create that right environment. And then it's about kind of measuring the right things. We work with the British Quality Foundation, with EFQM, with the Chartered Quality Institute. And in all of these partnerships, there's a shared kindred spirit of, we kind of know what it looks like when we get this right. And, and as I mentioned earlier, everybody wins when we get this right. And for me as a person, as an individual, what I recognized in the consortium is what I can only describe as grown-up agile. I'd become quite frustrated with Scrum, beer and pizza meetups. What's almost like, I don't want to defend anyone, but almost like an adolescent attitude to business, and treating the senior leaders as the grown-ups, and you're creating fractures within business, and we're creating incoherent culture if we're doing that. This is not a counterculture that works against the business when we get it right. It's part of our organizational DNA. And so when I started talking to people in the consortium on an individual level, I was like, this is grown-up agile. This is the kind of agile I've been doing, where we work with the CEO, with the CFO. But they're not our adversaries, they're our allies. And figuring out that really for this to work, it's not about just the people at the bottom, because what you're creating then is almost like a terrorist organization, a sub-organization. What we're creating top to bottom is coherence. And often it's the people at the top who often need the most help from us in terms of skills, in terms of growth mindset, in terms of psychological safety, in terms of our own behaviors, our own, what I can only describe as high performance behaviors. Yeah, we just saw tremendous synergy between our organization and the Agile Business Consortium. And more recently, we've been really working hard with bringing together some of our partners as well, because as the word's moving, we're starting to get a coherence and a convergence in terms of all of this thinking. Because once we've created the right environment, once we are working on the right work, our next job is to use the right technique. And that's where we need our business agility. And so, yeah, what we're seeing is a strong confluence or convergence of all of these different techniques. But what underpins it all is the learning organization, the culture, the behaviors. Well, I mean, some of this comes back to what we talked about at the beginning about authenticity and really living and breathing we using our own agility within our organization. We were kind of looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, what's coming up for the business. We're moving into another industrial age. The scale and potential of and dangers we could see with AI were absolutely tremendous. And what we're seeing is probably an enormous amount of hype around AI, and almost people to the point where there's a weariness around it, that it's jargon and it's buzz. And I think there's almost like different camps starting to emerge. We've got the oversellers who are kind of selling it to be more than it is and claiming to have all the answers. And if you look at your LinkedIn stream in the morning, you probably find a gazillion people saying, hey, we've got the latest Claude prompts for you. Hey, we've mastered this. Hey, I put a prompt in. I woke up in the morning and it created an entire new compute system for me. And so we've got people overselling it. But we've also got people on the other side who are kind of going, this is all hype. It's not emerging. And in the middle, we've got a blow people who are kind of trying to make sense of it all. And so inside of our business, we've been learning at a terrific rate. I mean, that authenticity we talked about, we're all lifelong learners. We all enjoy studying. So we have been really kind of embracing this stuff. We've used AI within the business to create some new software, which is what we've seen is people were really struggling with some of the legacy statistical tools related to process improvement, process optimization. And we're looking at using AI to give advice on improvement projects and how that might help. And so we brought both of those two technologies together into a product we launched a couple of weeks ago called CatStat, which basically is very user-friendly software for analyzing processes. And it uses AI behind the scenes in order to give advice when you get stuck, what you do next. But on the back of doing all of that, we've also, as a byproduct, kind of become very bleeding edge in the use of kind of vibe coding and the pitfalls, the do's, the don'ts, how to use AI agents, all of that stuff. So we're finding increasingly with clients, they can't learn at the rate that we can learn at because we've got control over our own infrastructure. What that's meaning is alongside of our kind of traditional work that we would do where we're helping out with process improvement and we're helping out with strategy and how to deploy the strategy and how to measure and all of the things and the organizational culture and the habits, the behaviors, we're also finding ourselves moving into this kind of adjacent space where we're now starting to advise on the technology use and how to do it. Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest challenge, probably similar to what you're having with the consortium as well. We've got the answer to a lot of these puzzles in what we teach in business agility and organizational culture and growth mindset and the psychological safety we create and the outcome based and the experimentation, the autonomy, the self-organizing teams, and right. But I don't think the world recognizes that we've already got the answers to some of these puzzles. And so, yeah, probably one of our biggest challenges alongside the consortium is really how do you market all of that? People who know us, who work with us, can see we have those competencies. And through the trust that we build with clients that, they're prepared to work with us. I don't know how you go out and market that stuff. It's probably our biggest challenge. But nonetheless, we seem to grow these opportunities organically anyway through the work as a side effect of the work we're already doing. You've still got a business model to look after. How do you market all of that stuff so it stays coherent? But what a time to be alive, though, is what I always say. It's like what an interesting moment in human history and helping organizations through this journey. Yeah, it just seems like a real gift and a real privilege. I mean, if I look at our traditional business, probably the most obvious one is that lean is all about cost reduction. And what I mean about that, when I talk about that, is cost reduction is often a consequence of applying lean thinking. But if we go in with the mentality of we're doing this to reduce costs, doesn't tend to work very well. And you can make some short-term benefits. But I think probably what's happening is that mentality is now extrapolating out into the technology space. We talk about this in the white paper that we published through the consortium recently. We talk about the random acts of AI, right? But this is where it isn't a coherent strategy. It's there to earn a fast buck. I want to be careful with my words, because you can, if you're wanting short-term benefit, you can go out and you can go and get it. But what you're doing is you're creating a band-aid. So that certainly is a challenge. Is, we can do that. The thing that you're coming to us with, we can help you to do. If the issue is we're wanting to build, scale out and optimize our costs so that we can improve our EBIT and all of those sorts of things, that absolutely can be done, but it's not done through focusing on those levers and those measures. What we focus on are your customers, and we focus on what are we delivering. And this is back to pure lean thinking. We then look at where is the waste in that process, and we take it out, and we motivate the workforce, and we train them, and we equip them to be able to go and help us with that journey of how can we do it faster. And what falls out are all of those things into the financial model, which result in costs going down, which we've got because we're delivering better service. Revenue goes up. But I guess this is probably one of the biggest kind of misconceptions that we see. But I hope I'm being clear here. We absolutely know how to achieve that, but we don't do it. It's almost, that's not the levers by which we achieve it. We achieve it through truly applying this kind of business philosophy. And I guess probably what we're seeing more recently is AI adoption being treated like an IT project. And actually, for most organizations, the technology part of it's not going to be the challenge. It's the people and the adoption and the culture and the safety and the quality and all of those things, which are all about building a business system, not just focusing on the revenue and the cost part of your business model. We're at a very exciting moment in the history of the business, because what we're seeing across all of the things I just described is we're seeing really a kind of a sea of opportunity, and the kind of the DNA of us is putting us in an amazing position for what comes next. There's been no grand plan up to this point, but we have kind of found ourselves in a very privileged spot. What's next for us is it really sort of splits out into two directions there. There's continuing to develop this next gen technology, which enables people, if they want to use traditional methods to improve their processes, they can do it, but also will be a very powerful tool to help them with AI adoption and how to optimize existing processes and value streams. Already in the software now, if you put a process map in, it will advise you where there are automation opportunities, where there are opportunities to use AI agents. When you're going through when you're analyzing your process, one of the things that's always frustrated us is how using the measures and using the methodology is not that difficult. It's not like it's a degree in maths required. But people get put off of it. There's kind of like a block that happens at school sometimes. And so people don't really kind of harness the full power of what these methodologies bring. What we've been able to do is unlock that to some degree, where the AI works alongside you as your companion and makes that accessible to everybody. So we're incredibly excited by that. I think, what we've delivered to the market right now is already groundbreaking. If you're listening and you'd like to try it, get on our website, catstat.com. You can get yourself a free trial of it, and you can start to get a sense of what we're talking about. But the other side of this, in terms of what's next for us, is really kind of using our deep competency in terms of how to holistically help organizations with transformation. Is that it's an industrial revolution, and we are right at the beginning of it. So we feel like we're going to be in a really good place to help organizations through that transition, to help equip the people with the skills that they need. And then as a byproduct of what we've been doing with the technology development, we've also developed the wherewithal and evolving competency in terms of how to use AI in order to create digital products and do it safely. We're already working with clients, helping to advise them, helping them on how to use their agile methods, their DevOps, the building quality into the process, Pokeokes, and building all of the culture and infrastructure to really be able to leverage the benefit of these technologies. So as you can tell, it's a incredibly exciting time for our business, and actually could even move into being more than one company the way things are headed. But very, very exciting times. And if you're listening and you'd like some help, please do give us a call. We can whether it's culture, leadership, behaviors, your strategy, your mission and your vision, or if it's really at this other end where you're seeing this industrial revolution coming and you just want some help with how to make sense of it and how to make sure that you can invest wisely and go about these things in the right way, then we'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in the impact of the of the AI revolution and how this all mixes with business agility, I'd certainly recommend giving the AI white paper that we recently published a read, because it kind of really contextualizes what's happening and how important really that we adopt a human first approach to the adoption of this technology.